Welcome to the Fashion Shed. My name is Chris, and I'm a fashion designer, and I literally work in a shed at the bottom of my garden. Today, we are going to do a challenge where I have to create a Louis Vuitton outfit in Clo3D within 2 hours. Originally, the plan was to do it in 1 hour, but then I recorded it, and it just took me so long. So it's changed from 1 hour to 2 hours. So there's the 2 hour challenge. Um, if you like the design and you want it, you can download it free at my Connect store. Just click the link wherever it is. If you like this video, please like and follow my channel. I want to do more of these challenges. I plan to do like one a week. So if there's an outfit out there or a product that you think I should do, please put in a comment below, like a link to what the product is, a little bit of a description. Don't go crazy. Like, I've only got 2 hours. I'm not going to be able to produce something ridiculous. So just be realistic. So I'll go on and I'll pick what you put, and we'll see what it comes up with. But hope you enjoy the video. The video is sped up because I didn't think that anyone would actually want to watch 2 hours worth of me working. So I sped it up times 4, so it's only actually half an hour. But I talk over the top of it, and I give you any hints and tips that I can pass on to you. And hopefully it's a good little video for you to watch. So enjoy. Okay, so the model is already uploaded. Um, First thing I'm going to do is to trace around the silhouette that's on the right hand side, and you can already see that you got a good shape there already. This dress is pretty simple. It's not going to be too. It's just 2 panels. There's not even any darts in the bust. It's pretty much straight up and down. One thing I did realize that I did, I put the front on the back and the front and the back on the front, so just had to quickly switch that around. So the sides, so the top, and voila. The problem is for this is that if you do a cutout of the chest of a deep V, because it's quite stretchy fabric, it just pulls it apart. So what you have to do is, or what I do, is I create the V, but don't delete the fabric. What you have to do is create the V and create a secondary material, and then change the opacity of that down to 0 so that it looks like a cutout. That way, that invisible fabric will retain the shape of the dress, so you can create that really nice deep V without it start curling or pulling. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've done that so quick. We're going to add some color now, fabric and textures. I just used the knit terry for this. And then if you use a PNG of the Louis Vuitton print, then you can rescale it. I changed the color a little bit. I put the normal map on, so it's got a little bit of texture. And I also changed the opacity, so it just wasn't so much of a stark black. And that's pretty much that done. The stretchiness of the material kind of warped the print a bit, so yeah, that's done. Right, onto the jacket. Now, this jacket has quite a few pockets, so I've got to consider that in terms of the time, but the process is exactly the same as the dress. I'm going to take it out a lot wider because of it's got just so much volume. Using the silhouette is a great way of like judging, but there's always going to be alterations that need to be made. So what am I doing? So, oh yeah, so this is what I do. So don't ever create both sides. Only ever work on one side at one time. There's no, oh God, what have I done? It took me ages to do this. So let's sew them all together. Look at that, getting all sticky. Right. Volume's pretty good. I like the shoulder. Now we just got to work on the sleeves. There wasn't enough volume at the bottom, so I needed to pull the sides out so it wasn't so straight down. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm actually calculating the armhole before I start the sleeve. So everyone knows the rough shape of a sleeve. This way you can make sure that your angles are 90%, 90 degrees, sorry. Mirror it, it's pretty much going to be the same front and back. I'm sure if I had time I would tailor a proper sleeve here. Now, I know now that that sleeve is exactly the same length as the armhole, which is good. So then I need to sew it all together now and then see how it looks. Pretty much get this spot on straight away, which I'm pretty happy with. The length isn't correct, which I'll correct later, but the armhole is pretty much spot on in terms of how it hangs off the shoulder, the volume. There needs to be more volume at the cuff, but in terms of the strap will pull in the cuff, so it'll look like this afterwards, but I need to add that in. The collar for this took me forever. I did so many changes. It was a tricky collar to do because it's a two-piece. Collars are always difficult in Clo. You have to get the folds perfect, and if it's not perfectly balanced, then it just folds completely wrong. This is me just trying to work out the shape that's going to work. And like I said, there was a lot of tweaking. I think I lost a good 15 minutes working on this collar. Sorry if the audio is pretty bad. I'm recording this on my phone in my shed, and I can hear cars, aeroplanes, everything going off. I haven't got a sound booth yet. Maybe in the future. Okay, so I finally work out the shape. Use the arrangement points to get it into the right position, but I think it was still like flipped the wrong way. So I corrected that. Gonna sew it on. And it is huge. It's so big. There's a lot of tweaking that needs to be done on this one. I don't think the collar stand was high enough. It needs to be an extra centimeter high. But do you know what? Like for the first attempt, it's not bad, but it does need to have a lot of tweaking. If I was to export this pattern onto a printer and create the actual garment, I would not do it this way. I would work on this a lot more just to make sure it's perfect. But as I've only got 2 hours, this is what it's going to have to be. As long as it looks good. So what I've done, I've realized that there's an extra centimeter there for the zip, so that will change the fit. So I need to apply that now onto the center front. The collar needs to be more cut away, needs to be smaller. There was just so much work to be done. It's always easier to take away rather than add. See, I'm still not happy with it. I think I could have created a whole hood in the time that I did this one collar. And I haven't even done the second layers or anything yet. Is that good? Nearly there. Just got to do some re-stitching because I made the collar stand a little bit longer, so it had to be all moved down. There was lots of alterations to be done. Definitely going to fast forward this bit. Like times 10 the speed. Okay, so time for the storm flap. Just going to create some vertical lines to stitch that to for now. Just get it on there. You also have to take the width of the zip into account. So if the zip is 1 centimeter wide and the storm guard is 5 centimeters, that means that the line has to be 2 centimeters in. So you got the 2, 2 and 5, or 2, 2, 1, which equals 5. There we go. Storm flap is on. I often strengthen panels just to get them nice and flat, and then I unstrengthen them when I'm working on them again. Okay, so this is working out all the seam lines of the chest seam, horizontal chest seam, working out the scale of the pockets. This is all done by eye, but if I was doing a proper garment that was going to go to production, I would get a sample out, make sure that everything's to the right measurements. But for this one, we can just use our eyes. Right, cuff strap. What a lot of people do is they create new shapes away from the garment, but rather than doing that, I create an internal shape on top of a panel, and then you duplicate that panel, so that sleeve, and then cut it and then get rid of the rest of the sleeve, because then that way your strap is already in place and you don't have to faff around with rendering and all this and pulling things out and in and out. So yeah, it's a much quicker way of doing it. You can see it again when I do these pockets. What I'll do is I'll duplicate the front panel, I'll cut all the panels off, and what you've got is pockets and pocket flaps and everything are already in place. All you have to do is redo the sewing, and then when you go to simulate it, everything's already in place. Just stitching down where the snaps are so the flap doesn't go crazy. There you go. Pretty quick. I think at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to start applying all the top stitch just so I can get those established. So this one needs to be around the base of the pocket, needs to be a twin. So it's just figuring out all the distances. I still find it difficult. I work in millimeters, and Clo works in inches when it comes to all the distances of the stitch. So I always have to play around with what ones. I can never remember exactly what one I need to use, but I've got a twin stitch there, and I've got a 0.7 millimeter single needle stitch. The hem stitch, so that's an additional 1 inch stitch for the hem, and the collar has a 0.7 as well. Cuff has a 0.7 as well. Okay, it's starting to look good. Okay, so at this point I've deleted one side, I've mirrored it, and I'm going to stitch it all together so it's one big garment. So notice I've only done stitching on one side and then duplicated it. I didn't have to do it on both. I wish there was a button where you could just automatically mirror. I know there's the mirroring tool, but I hate that tool. You know, when you apply something to one side and it automatically does it on the other side, it always slows my computer down massively. So I prefer doing it this way. I've got a pretty good computer. I'll have to upload all the spec of the one that I use. If anyone is thinking of taking up Clo and getting a computer, what I would do is I would recommend never ever getting a Apple Mac. Before I moved to Clo, like I used to always use Adobe Illustrator to draw everything, and I always had a Mac, and I never wanted a PC. And then the specs for the Clo when I first got it was just so expensive. To get the Mac, I think it was like £10,000 to get the spec that I needed. So I went to a local computer store, one of those ones that create gaming PCs, and he did me one for, I think it was £3,500, which is a lot of money. But when you can do things so quick on Clo, you know, you can make a lot of money with this program. So yeah, it was a good decision. Okay, so for the jacket, the colours have been applied. I'm currently doing the internal waistband. So what I've done is I'm creating the seam lines, but what I'm doing is I'm gonna add the panels to the inside. So you've got physical panels on the inside, not on the outside. And what I'll do is I will change the weft percentage. So I might take that down to 50%. So that draws that in. I tend not to use the elastic button. I prefer it doing it this way. I don't know why. I just think it looks better. Eventually I'll move the particle distance down to 5 so that gathering looks better. At the moment it looks very blobby, but it'll look more refined, more like that once I do the particle distance down. Right, got to do the seam lines on the back, the yoke and the back seam. Applying the top stitch, rejoining the yoke up. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, so it was only until this point I noticed that there was large elbow patches. So if I was doing this again, I would apply this before splitting up the arms, but that's a mistake. If you do it all before, then you don't have to rejoin the arm patches afterwards, and the measurements are a little bit better. But because I already made the mistake, I thought there's no point in going back now. Okay, let's clean up all these lines. Sew it all together. If you want, I can upload the 2-hour video, but I'm guessing nobody wants to sit through that. I could probably talk more in depth about the buttons and everything that I'm pressing, but it would literally take 2 hours. Okay, so applying all the stitch work now. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so at this point I realised, again, I should have done this at the start. I noticed where the sleeves are much longer on the photo, and they cover the hand. You can just see the fingers poking out, so I needed to lengthen the sleeve. And at this point I realised that the hands also, the avatar fingers are like poking out, so I needed to change the avatar a little bit. Which on this latest model, you get to change the hands, just the hands, which is a really nice feature. Okay, the sleeves are done. Still tweaking them. Okay, got to do the sleeve pocket now. Same process as before. Create all the internal lines on the panel, on the sleeve panel. Duplicate it over. And then for the flap, you do exactly the same. Reapply all the stitch lines. Apply the different color fabric, and then that's pretty much it. I'll have to apply all the stitch lines. Okay, so constantly going back and forth with the reference image. So many times that I've not had the reference image there, and you get to the end of the garment, it just doesn't match whatsoever. You have to constantly go back. Right, this is the panel on top of the collar. I think this is a cover for a zip, and then underneath this there's an additional collar, and I think it can be zipped off. I'm not too sure. It's not too clear on the photos. I think this jacket is worth £4,000, is it? She's nuts. Absolutely crazy prices. Okay, so this is the secondary zip-off collar. If I was doing this, if I was doing like a full day on this jacket, I would put zip underneath there, give that a little bit more volume, make it look like it was actually underneath. Sorry, there's an aeroplane going over. I live pretty close to an airport. Okay, so we're going to start applying all of the metal snaps. Just need to make the adjustments. Apply the metal finish. I think these would be maybe 13 millimeters wide. Again, on the actual sample, these are branded. You can go in and you can apply your own branded artwork onto these, but you won't really see them on the final render, so I didn't bother doing it. Okay, it's looking good. Just changing the color of the zip and the metal teeth. I'm actually going to get rid of the zip pillar for now, because the storm flap will cover it, so I don't want it. Sometimes zip pullers can like push through that panel, so I don't want to ruin a render with the zip coming through when it doesn't need to be there really. Nearly done now. Nearly done. tweaking these because it keeps conflicting. It needs to come in closer. I think that is looking good. Just these tiny little tweaks right at the last minute. Okay. Okay, so I am going to style this the same as the reference images. I need to add some internal snaps. I'm going to have it opened so that you can see the dress on the inside. Nice. The problem that I found is that because the internal waistband, I think I did like 50% weft. I pulled it in a bit too much and it was pulling it. So later on I did correct it and put it up a little bit. But it was just pulling it a bit too much. Okay, so I'm gonna add the dress back in. What I do in these scenarios is I make the skin offset of the model like 10, which pushes the jacket out everywhere, and then I bring the dress in, and then I re-apply the original offset at like 1.5, and then everything just sucks in. So you don't really have to, you know, when you put the layers, you maybe do like the dress as a negative number, and the jacket as a positive number, and then kind of let it work itself out. But you don't really need to do that if you do the offset rule. Okay, is this done? Okay, so I'm going to reapply the model with skin. I originally didn't do that because if you post these models up on YouTube without any clothes on, I'm pretty sure you get marked as like an adult content. So I had to use a different model. But here's the final model. I'm just going to start playing around with the renders, the poses. Let's do a nice walking pose. Still not happy with that. At this point, because everything's just going straight down and doesn't look like it's flowing, what I do is I kind of move things, I stop the render and I freeze it, and then I'll do the other side, pull it, stop the render, and then freeze it, and then same for the back. So that everything's not going straight down, you pull them out of the back. Same for the collar here. Still struggling with a bit of conflict. Okay. Can't remember what I was doing here. Okay, so I've changed the particle distance down to 5 rather than 10. So everything will go a little bit slower now, but it's just tweaking at this stage. So I'm pulling the bottom out. So as she's walking, it's kicking up. Then you freeze it. Same for the sleeves. Pull it out, give it a little bit of volume. For the sleeves, I actually changed the pressure. I think I put like two points of pressure, just so they balloon out a little bit. Okay. Just trying to get that sleeve perfect. Oh. There we go. You can see how the back is just kicking out a little bit. This collar's still causing me trouble. Not got long to go. Okay, tweak. Am I happy with that? No. Yeah. Just double checking all of the seams. It's good to exaggerate the seam depth, the 3D depth, because then you can actually see it on the final renders. This looked a little bit blobby, so what I did was I flattened it by using the strength, and then again, yeah, freezing it off. All the snaps are a little bit funny. They've all sunken into the material. I think it's time to sort those out. So if you select them all, change the offset, pull them up a little bit, just checking all the other snaps are fine. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to change. The original model didn't have sunglasses, so I've changed that. Okay, let's get into position. Sometimes these pre-made poses, the feet are just really strange. So I've straightened up her foot there, put her to the ground. Okay, so let's start the rendering process. I'm going to move her head a little bit, just so it's looking forward. There she goes. Okay. I'm just changing all the render settings, making it a bigger image. That's it. Changing the background color. Now, here's the lighting. I always do vivid. I don't know why, I just like it. Okay, so let's apply the final AI face. I love this new feature because it doesn't change the garment at all. But it just adds the face. It just really, look at that. Okay, so that's it. That is 2 hours worth of work. I think I pretty much, if I could do it again, there'd be more things I would tweak, and there's things that I would take a lot more time on. Yeah, the material, I think the shine on the material was a little bit too much. But, you know, I think I did pretty well. So if you do want this file, it is free to download on my Clo3D store. Just click the link. There's tons of other stuff that you can download, tons of free stuff. There's a few things that you can pay for. Yeah, if you like this video, please like and share, and